Not every act of kindness is genuine. Sometimes it's manipulation in disguise. Think about the man who rushes to rescue every woman in distress, the one who positions himself as her protector, her savior, her good guy. On the surface it looks noble, but underneath it often hides something far more selfish, the hunger for control, validation, and power. This is what psychologists call the white knight manipulation. It's when a person, usually a man, uses the performance of goodness, of sacrifice, of protection, not out of pure care, but as a way to secure loyalty, affection, or even dependence from someone else. It sounds heroic, but the truth is much darker. Because the white knight isn't really trying to save you, he's trying to bind you to him. He wants to be owed, remembered, and adored for his sacrifices. In other words, the white knight doesn't fight dragons for you. He fights them for his own reflection in your eyes. And here's the hook. Most people don't see this manipulation happening. We're taught to trust those who appear selfless, to admire those who sacrifice. But when kindness comes with hidden strings attached, it's no longer kindness, it's strategy. And strategy in relationships often turns into emotional control. So in this video, we're going to break down the psychology of the white knight manipulation, why people use it, why it feels so persuasive, and why falling for it can leave you weaker, not stronger. We'll explore the hidden motives behind this behavior, and we'll also ask the difficult question, are you someone who has been manipulated by a white knight? Or are you someone who unconsciously plays that role yourself? Stay with me, because what you're about to hear will challenge the way you see goodness, protection, and even love itself. 1. The hidden motive when kindness is control. On the surface, the white knight looks like the ideal man. He shows up when you're struggling. He defends you, supports you, and sacrifices his time or energy to be there for you. He plays the role of the rescuer, the protector, the one who will fight your battles so you don't have to. At first glance, this seems noble. It feels like love. It feels like loyalty. But beneath the surface, the white knight's motives are often far less pure. What looks like generosity is frequently rooted in a hunger for validation and control. His kindness is not truly selfless, it's a strategy, a way of securing a position in your life that gives him leverage. This is the uncomfortable truth. Many men don't rush in to save because they care about the other person's growth. They do it because it makes them feel important. The act of rescuing feeds their ego. It allows them to be admired, thanked, and depended on. And dependency is the key, because once you feel like you owe him, he holds silent power over you. Think about the psychology here. True kindness sets you free, but manipulative kindness binds you closer. The white knight doesn't want you to become independent. He wants you to keep needing him. Every act of sacrifice becomes a settled debt. Every "I'm here for you" becomes a reminder that you wouldn't survive without him. And the more he gives, the more he expects loyalty, admiration, even romantic devotion. This is why the white knight is so dangerous. His manipulation is not loud, aggressive, or cruel. It's disguised as goodness. That's what makes it effective. People rarely question a man who appears endlessly selfless. They assume his intentions are pure, when in reality, his goodness may just be another form of control. It's important to understand that this isn't always conscious. Many white knights don't wake up and think, "I'm going to manipulate today." Instead, their pattern is built on insecurity. Deep down, they don't believe they can be loved for who they are, so they construct a role, the savior. If they can't be desired naturally, they will be desired for what they do. And that role gives them a sense of importance they struggle to find elsewhere. But here's the catch. If your love, your friendship, or your trust is built on this performance, then it isn't real. It's conditional. The white knight is not protecting you. He's protecting his ego through you. His kindness isn't about lifting you up. It's about keeping you beneath him, so he can always be the one who saves the day. And that is the heart of the white knight manipulation. When kindness becomes a weapon, not of destruction, but of subtle control. 2. Why people fall for the white knight, and how it feels. If the white knight's motives are so often rooted in ego and control, the question becomes, why do people fall for it? Why does the role of savior feel so convincing, so irresistible, even when something about it feels off? The answer lies in human psychology. At our core, every one of us craves safety. We long for someone to ease our burdens, to stand by us in moments of weakness, to make us feel protected from the chaos of life. The white knight steps into that longing like a perfectly fitted mask. He offers the comfort of not having to fight alone. And in a world that constantly overwhelms us, that promise is intoxicating. Falling for the white knight doesn't mean weakness, it means being human. It means responding to the deep emotional need to feel seen, cared for, and defended. When someone arrives with the posture of sacrifice, our defenses drop. We want to believe their devotion is pure, because it aligns so perfectly with what we've always wanted: unconditional support. There's also something powerful about the illusion of rescue. It allows us to step back from responsibility for a moment and let someone else carry the weight. That relief can feel like love. It can feel like destiny. It can feel like finally being valued in a way the world has denied us. And because it feels so good, we rarely stop to question the strings that may be attached. Psychologically, the white knight triggers two powerful emotions at once: gratitude and dependency. Gratitude for the comfort provided, and dependency because part of us begins to wonder if we could cope without that comfort. The more he saves, the more the bond deepens, not out of mutual strength, but out of fear of losing the protector. That dynamic is what keeps people locked in the manipulation. Here's where it becomes especially difficult. The white knight doesn't just meet needs, he amplifies them. He positions himself as the only one who truly understands, the only one willing to sacrifice, the only one who cares enough to fight. And when you believe that, letting go of him feels like betraying your own survival. This is why people fall for the white knight. Not because they are blind, but because the manipulation mirrors their deepest desires. It gives the illusion of safety, love, and devotion in a world that often withholds those things. The tragedy is that this safety is fragile, this love conditional, and this devotion rooted not in your freedom, but in your dependence. And so the cycle continues. The white knight gives, you receive, and the bond tightens. It feels like rescue, but in reality, it's a cage made of kindness. 3. When being needed replaces being loved. One of the quiet dangers of the white knight dynamic is that it replaces real love with usefulness. Instead of being valued for who you are valued for what you provide. Protection, reassurance, stability, emotional labor. And at first, that feels flattering. It feels like purpose. But psychology tells us something important. Being needed is not the same as being loved. Being needed means your value is conditional. It exists only as long as you continue to serve a function. And this is where the white knight thrives. He doesn't build connection through mutual vulnerability. He builds it through utility. In this dynamic, affection becomes transactional. The white knight gives support, and in return, he expects closeness, loyalty, admiration, or emotional exclusivity. These expectations are rarely spoken out loud, but they are always felt. When they aren't met, resentment quietly grows. What makes this especially dangerous is how subtle it feels. No one says, "You owe me." Instead, it shows up as disappointment, guilt, or emotional withdrawal. You sense that pulling away would feel like betrayal. You sense that independence would feel like abandonment. And slowly, you begin to limit yourself, not because you're forced to, but because you don't want to hurt the person who did so much for you. This is not love. This is emotional leverage. Healthy love encourages autonomy. It wants you strong, capable, and self-directed. The white knight's version of love feels protective, but it quietly discourages independence. Because if you stop needing him, his role collapses. And without that role, he's forced to face something he's been avoiding, the fear that he is not enough on his own. Over time, the relationship becomes unbalanced. One person grows smaller, the other grows more important. One feels watched, the other feels indispensable. And the moment the rescued person begins to change, tension appears. This is often when confusion sets in. You wonder why growth feels like betrayal, why strength feels like distance, why becoming more independent creates emotional friction instead of celebration. The answer is simple and uncomfortable. The bond was built on dependency, not love, and dependency can never coexist peacefully with growth. 4. The white knight's silent resentment. Here's a part of the white knight psychology that rarely gets talked about. Resentment. Deep, quiet resentment that builds over time. On the surface, the white knight appears endlessly patient, endlessly giving. But underneath, there is often a suppressed anger, an anger that comes from giving too much and receiving too little of what he expected. Because while his help looks unconditional emotionally, it rarely is. The white knight often believes his sacrifices should be rewarded. Not necessarily with words, but with attachment, with loyalty, with importance. And when those rewards don't arrive in the way he imagined, frustration begins to form. This is where manipulation can turn passive-aggressive. Help becomes controlling, support becomes monitoring, protection becomes jealousy. What once felt comforting begins to feel heavy. Psychologically, this resentment comes from misaligned intentions. The white knight tells himself he is being selfless, but deep down, he is bargaining. When the bargain fails, he feels cheated, even though the other person never agreed to the terms. This is why the white knight may react badly when the person he saved grows stronger, more confident, or less dependent. Instead of pride, he feels threatened. Instead of joy, he feels replaced. The very success of the other person feels like his own erasure. And so the dynamic shifts. The savior becomes critical. The protector becomes restrictive. The helper becomes emotionally cold or subtly punishing. Not because he is evil, but because his identity was built on being needed, and that identity is now collapsing. This is the final stage of the white knight manipulation, when kindness turns into quiet control and care turns into entitlement. At this point, the truth becomes impossible to ignore. The white knight was never trying to build equality. He was trying to secure relevance, and relevance that depends on another person's weakness is never stable. It will always collapse the moment growth begins. The white knight may look like a savior, but in truth, he is often just another manipulator in disguise. His protection is not always about you, it's about him. About the ego boost of being needed, about the illusion of being noble, and about keeping you in a state where you depend on his presence to feel safe. Sometimes the ones who appear most selfless are actually the most strategic. And sometimes the very people who promise to save you are the ones who secretly hope you never learn to stand on your own. The real danger of the white knight is not the help he offers, but the lesson he teaches, that you are too fragile to face life without him. That message, repeated enough, can shrink your confidence, your independence, and even your identity. Suddenly, you are no longer making choices freely. You are living in the shadow of someone else's need to feel important. Here's the paradox. People fall for the white knight because the world often feels too heavy to carry alone. But if you never step out of his shadow, you never discover your own strength. True freedom begins not when someone saves you, but when you realize you didn't need saving to begin with. So let me leave you with a controversial thought. The greatest manipulation is not cruelty, it is kindness with an agenda. Because cruelty is easy to see, but kindness, that's harder to question. And that's why it trapped so many people for so long. Now the question is, where in your own life might you be mistaking rescue for control? Where might you be clinging to a protector instead of stepping into your own power? This channel exists to challenge those questions, to break through the comfortable lies we tell ourselves, and to uncover the hidden psychology shaping our lives. If you've stayed with me until now, it means you're ready for more than just surface-level comfort. You're ready to face the truths most people avoid. So if this made you think, even if it made you uncomfortable, subscribe, share this video, and keep digging deeper with me. Because the moment you start seeing manipulation for what it is, you're already taking back your power.